Somebody once set off an atomic bomb in the Great Victoria Desert's silent calm in Western Australia, a land much embalmed. But no one noticed it for years, that maelstrom, but for creatures jumping right out of the genome. Of the world's 10 most poisonous snakes, most are Australian, for Christ's and God's sakes. Even a fluffy caterpillar can kill you. Seashells are venomous too. Adieu and skidoo to you. Every ocean current carries you far out to sea. They even lost a prime minister, Harold Holt, who was merely strolling along the beach. He stepped into the surf, going swiftly out of reach, and was never seen or heard from again, impeached.
Australia is very old and nothing has changed there for 60 million years, nor anything rearranged. Thus one may find there the oldest fossils on Earth. Even the first faint signs of life can be seen, its birth, and the earliest animal tracks ever made, no dearth.
It seems, though, that its creatures evolved outside of Darwin's book being quite convolved.
They don't run at all, but just bounce across the landscape like a ball, or they jounce.
Australia is the driest, hottest, most useless, infertile, flattest, and climatically unbalanced of all the continents instanced. It is so hot there that recently, the air caught on fire once again. The place is so inert that even the soil is a fossil. Even the worms and bacteria are quite docile. On the upside, they have 20% of the world's slot machines present to serve less than 1% of the world's population extent. As about equal to finding a live T-Rex.
Proto-ants were found alive there, having sex.
Although nothing like them had existed on Earth for over 100 million years worth.
So does Greybeard know his evolutionary stuff, or what?
Yes, indeed, plus all of those ants so tough were found on his back porch, hell-bent with intent. They've now become extinct due to his experiments.
I flew to Los Angeles from Australia, getting there in time and date, even before I left the shore, which was hardly soon enough for me.
Let us all say a prayer for poor Greybeard to be. The science news is that NASA is feverishly pursuing the manned Mars landing plan. Flyers ever wooing, but still needs some suitable astronauts.
So it's off to White Cliffs, Australia for some kumquats.
Here they found a population of about 80 in a wilted world of heat, rocks, and dust, matey. Due to the horrible heat, their cave houses are burrowed into the hills for souses and mouses.
Science saves us from the warm future.
The White Cliffs underground motel moochers and those of the various home residences picked have the right idea to avoid the warming conflict-free cooling to 67 degrees Fahrenheit. Perfect.
This may be a good plan for all of the future deal if global warming really happens to happen for real. I can imagine a stay in the dugout motel, unraveling, it being quite a heavenly destination after traveling forever, going over bumpy roads and then getting...
And now of others whom I met online, gently roasted here with rhythm and rhyme. In Fred's pyramidal world, it is that the origin of the belly button of the universe was an inner begin that reached the limit of being really small, and so it popped back out to become the outer all, as in the outer space of the entire universe around that formed from the unlimited merry-go-round. Mohan wrote many multiverses of poems on the steamy planet of India, per diem, where they have 3 million gods become. They will eventually be getting more so that each person can have one to adore. One day the temperature there went down to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, which would be a perfect markdown anywhere else. But here they all tried to look for sweaters to put on outside, but they didn't own any, at least not very many. In the summer, on and in the icy planetoid called the Yukon, a frozen place that's best to avoid, Label Winch worked only at night, but like the day it was just as bright. The sun never rose, staying up all the more, for it had never set during the day before. When a cloud came by in its darkness, they called it night or darkness and had to use flashlights until it passed so that they could all find their wine glasses. They have only 2 days a year there, each 6 months long and longer, called white and black or bright and pitch black. MJA lives in a land where there was no difference in anything, for all was equal. Everyone was a clone, wearing the same clothes. The sports results were always ties, so close, everyone got an A in school for they couldn't measure the rule. But they'd all progressed beyond this equality thanks to Bottomlander, who lives in a valley. Antonio lives in the celestial body of Mexico, but for some reason they call it Texas, since long ago the US stole it away. We would give it all back, but for the fact that they have already taken it, Jack. I always try to say remember the start, but I usually can't recall the Alamo part. One time I got a letter from my lapses for Austin on taxes from Austin, Texas, and I didn't know what to do but axe it. In Greenbug's asteroid of Greenland, every single thing was green, and so after a while this gave him the blues, after which Valley of Depression's dues, he then felt very much in the pink, and much on the uprise until all was a rosy think. Then he discovered that he had been given green contact lenses at birth, these being riven. His land was really all white, the green in the land names right being only part of an advertising plan to get people to settle the land there, after not so many came to Iceland. Bogey resides in the sunken land of Florida where the year-round heat is all too horrible, where old people walk really slow in front of you towards God's waiting room, to the very last pew. Bogey cools his thoughts in the arena of Tampa Bay, pondering every idea that comes his way. Rascal Puff lives in Niihau, Hawaii, a secret place, so that's all can say I. Graham lives in the Canadian clouds where all is allowed, in a levitated home, smoking pot homegrown. Felix lives in Schrodinger's cat house shed, but only half the time when he's not dead. Lloyd lives in the real house of science, so please let all posts there be in compliance. Lesky's leaving the new land of zeal, ever becoming more and more real. Max lives in the US in the state of deep thought, with all his relatives, many of whom were fought, cousins twice removed, but they kept on coming back. Melanie says that nothing is real, and this reminds me of Guy whose spiel related that nothing is true. For real! Everyone believed him for 20 million years, but then they found out he was lying. Oh, tears. And so it was then so sure that they truly knew that the case was really that nothing was true. And so for 15 million more years of bluffing, they believed not anything and nothing. So what was this guy's name? Well, it was the man with no name, which was Nobody Nowhere, who was now here but nowhere. He lived in the no place of virtual space. Then a large but tiny problem was found with nothing, ahem, that there was a slight ado about it, surely this being the quantum uncertainty, not a very big deal really, being the smallest thing of reality but enough to raise it to be a near nothing, just about as close to nothing as one could ever get without stuffings. And so it hardly really counted for much. But it made for a universe in which, as a crutch, the gravitational energy was negative, it canceling out the positive. All the energy of stuff, but for the unavoidable touch of the quantum uncertainty, which we can almost certainly avoid for all practices purposely, so nothing is true and nothing is real turned out to be pretty much right, a done deal, except in England, where it was all that was left. Now, for some outdoor non-online fun with no one on the computer but out on the run. Everyone was out having a ball lately by hitting it with a club, bat stick, or a racket. Greybeard shot an eagle and a birdie and then cooked them for a dinner fry. SB_UK scored a wicket, whatever that means. Arthur argued the laws out in left field with an umpire who was always right. Label Wench jumped her horse over a giant snowball. Max rolled a bowling ball down his road at 10 trees. Austin avoided the tennis net of evil and tried to keep within the white lines of goodness. Mikal thought that a sand trap near a water hazard was a beach. MJA's equal game ended in a scoreless tie. Melanie scored 18 holes and won because it was really the perfect awareness that was playing. Time Particle hit a golf ball with a baseball bat and created a new orbiting moonlet. I never played polo, but I played golf, which I learned from playing billiards, at least the putting part, and so I suppose polo is really golf combined with riding a horse. Time Particle is so strong that he hit the ball out of sight. Melanie said that there really is no horse and ball. Greybeard reached for a branch whenever the horse's ears twitched. Graham used a levitating magnetic horse after the bull moose threw him off. Austin went horse from too many posts. Wick played from the fourth dimension.